Hello and welcome to the Superhero Podcast, and today is another new discussion video, and as always, we have a special guest on the show, and like last time, it's someone new. His show on YouTube helps break down comic book decisions behind the scenes that some people may not understand, and he also reviews current day comics that gives people a guide on what they should look out for in the stores. Today on my show, please welcome Owen from Owen Likes Comics. Hey Owen, how you doing?
Hey man, thanks for having me on. I'm excited for today's topic, and let's just get into it.
Oh, great. Because sort of like always we do this, it always begins like this on the show whenever we have a new guest on. I ask the normal question that everyone kind of always asks if you're a comic book fan. They go, hey,
who the fuck are you?
Blah, blah, blah. No. They go, hey, you like comics? Who's your favourite character? So, Owen, who's your favourite character in comics?
I'm going to go with the obvious choice and say Batman. I can't help it.
You're one of those people.
I can't help it. He's the character that got me into comics, and I'm not someone that'll defend him blindly. I think that he's been written to be very overpowered in the sense that because even though he doesn't have superpowers, it seems like he can defeat everyone. It's get a little bit ridiculous at the end of the day. He is only a man.
Yeah.
The whole kind of notion that he can defeat the entire Justice League at the start of Batman Endgame is a little bit far-fetched. But I think when he's in the hands of a good writer, I think there's a reason why probably Batman has more kind of not so much character depth, but he has more kind of renowned stories than most other characters.
So like sort of like Snyder's run.
Yeah, you can look at modern stuff like Snyder's run. You can look at kind of older stuff like The Killing Joke and The Dark Knight Returns in Year One. There's just, compared to a lot of the other DC characters, no offense to a lot of the DC characters, but Batman's got such a long list of iconic stories. So,
all right then. So, speak on those terms. We'll come to one of his iconic stories later in the discussion, because obviously that will play into it.
Yeah.
But the main question that we are trying to ask today, everyone, is death in comics is not really. It's not taken seriously anymore. And to be honest, why does it matter at all anymore in comics? So we're not just looking at the specific. We're not just looking at the specific big two. We have obviously the Marvel and DC. We also have Image and indie books and so on. But we have to look at the bigger picture and try and stamp out this issue that death just isn't taken seriously anymore in comics. When years ago it was a big deal. So of course, first we're going to talk about some of the more iconic deaths of superheroes, but ones that actually would matter in the grand scheme of things to change the superhero world. And one famous example from actually a couple of years ago would be when Ultimate Peter Parker died. Full on died in the Ultimate Universe, saving his family and friends, and that hit the world hard. I mean, it was a shocking event that was still one of my favourite books to read. Not just because, oh, yay, Peter Parker's dead. No, it's about looking at how this character who's come so far from the beginning all the way to now has become such a, let's say, iconic kind of character for young readers and for those who started with the Ultimate Universe, because they were too, let's say, unaware of how to get into comics beforehand. So Marvel went, hey, if you need a new universe, here's a new one. Here's one that's brand new. You can just start right now. And everyone went, yeah. So when the ultimate death of Peter Parker came, it was one of those stories that was like, oh my god, this is actually for real, because in the Ultimate Universe, if you die, you stay dead.
Yeah.
So have you ever... I'm asking this as a general blinds question. What did you feel when you heard that they were going to kill off the Ultimate Peter Parker?
Now, I'm a huge fan of Ultimate Spider-Man. It's one of my favourite comic series of all time. I think the fact that you can go from Bendis and Bagley's first issue to the last issue and it never went bad. Even when they killed off the main character, the book continued to be great.
Exactly.
I think that just goes to a testament how good a writer Bendis is. But I think with the Ultimate Universe and the death of Peter Parker, that was something that hit a lot of people really hard. They built Peter up for years and years in the Ultimate Universe. He was kind of the centre of the universe, so to speak.
Like he was very much within the Ultimate's eye, like saying, "Oh wow, here's Peter Parker to help Captain America."
Yeah, and what I didn't know until I was doing some research the other day, do you know how old Peter was when he died?
He was in his teens.
He was 16.
Mm.
So I think that makes it kind of even more shocking to think that, because you'd have to imagine a lot of the heroes in the Ultimate Universe probably still didn't know that Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Mm.
So imagine kind of their reaction not only when they find out Spider-Man's dead, when they find out he was 16.
Mm. But of course, with death comes revival. I mean, we've got the excellent Miles Morales series, which still lots of people love, and everyone's glad to see that after Secret Wars, it becomes within the main universe of Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah,
and that he's going to be probably one of the main Spider-Man books.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that. They've basically said that Miles is, he's the main Spider-Man in the Avengers. And he's also the main Spider-Man in New York, because Peter's leaving New York.
He's going across the world.
Yeah, so, it's nice that they're giving a big push to Miles, because Miles is a really interesting character. But as for Ultimate Peter Parker, he was actually resurrected.
Yeah, I know, I was going to get to that point. He was, obviously, for those who don't know what we're talking about, he was brought back towards the end of the Ultimate Universe. And I say end because... Yep, it's over because of the Secret Wars. The Ultimate Universe is gone. So is the 616 universe, and obviously after Secret Wars, what's left will create the new.
Yeah.
So at the end of the Ultimate Universe run of Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter came back, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And then it was revealed that he woke up in a lab one day, and he just saw how long he'd been gone, and he had to speak to Mary Jane, and he attacked Miles, like saying, "Give me my web shooters back." And they fought the Goblin together.
Yeah.
And I think people were kind of worried. They were like saying, "Oh, right. So you just scared everyone," saying that originally months ago, when Cataclysm was announced, they were saying everyone was petrified that this was the death of the Ultimate Universe. They were really worried that was it. But of course, that got a huge fan outcry. So you not really know for sure, but maybe that changed their minds. That's saying maybe if we start like this. And of course, with that, they go, "Hey, this is a good story. We could carry it on." And so, what do we do? What is the one famous story from Spider-Man that we can recreate that everyone will love in the Ultimate Universe? I know, the Clone Saga. Everyone loves that one.
They've already done that, though. They already did the Ultimate Clone Saga. And it was fun.
It was better done in the Ultimate Universe.
It was pretty throwaway in terms of Ultimate Spider-Man stories, but it wasn't a colossal piece of dog shit like the original. So,
but of course, with Ultimate Peter Parker's death came the normal Peter Parker's death in the 616. A couple of years ago, when Dan Slott announced that, the Amazing Spider-Man is going to end, and from it will come something new. And of course, as soon as everyone saw it, everyone was going, "Boo! How can you kill this character that's meant so much to us for so many years? Even though he's had some really terrible storylines, and he's been written in so many different ways that totally differentiates this character from everyone else ever." But from that, we got the Spectacular Spider-Man, which was an amazing run from Dan Slott, where it had Dr. Otto Octavius in the body of Peter Parker, being the Spider-Man of New York City, and to be honest, the series was excellent. It ended perfectly as well. And to be honest, people were overreacting when they announced that he was going to die. And you can see they got the same kind of reaction that said, "Oh look, another Peter Parker is dying. Oh no, ring the alarm bells." So do you think that people get annoyed when they see that their most iconic characters are being killed off to to kind of gather new readership?
I think in what's going to become a recurring theme on the podcast today, people, when it comes to legacy characters, don't like change. They don't like it when a long-standing character is changed. And I think I understand that that comes from the whole idea of they've grown up reading this character. It means a lot to them. Why are these new writers doing something different with it? But I think a lot of the time it does actually work. I mean, I was very skeptical when they announced Superior Spider-Man. The premise alone sounded very strange. But I came around on it in a huge way. I love that series.
So does my house. That was the sole reason my housemate got into comics, because I said, "Look, here's this series, you'll like it." And he was like, "Oh, I really like this series now. I'm going to carry on reading it."
It's brilliant. And what I think is best about it is they probably could have, because towards the end of the run it was starting to get really popular. people were really starting to come around the kind of the last 2 volumes of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably could have stretched it out for another year, but they didn't. They ended it at the time they were going to end it.
But there's always the famous saying, too much of something can always be bad. Too much of a good something.
Unlike a lot of times in Spider-Man's history, they've known when to end something, to quit when they're ahead.
Yeah. But then we say, like, the legacy characters, that they die, people get annoyed when they die off. Last year, we had... I honestly say this because many people know me and they say, what's your least favourite character? And I go, oh, it's obvious, Wolverine. And they go, why? And I go, well, he's in so much and I don't like the character. I get bored of him very quickly. It's, Bob, here are my claws, blah, blah, blah. But I say this with honesty, that Charles Soule made me care about that character the first time since I started reading comics at the age of 7. And I'll tell you why. The death of Wolverine was a kind of a premise that they built up from the current Wolverine series. Sort of a tie into what the Wolverine was trying to convey, saying, hey, what if we took away Wolverine's healing factor and made him actually mortal? How would that change the character? And everyone was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And then they dropped the bombshell saying, yeah, Wolverine's going to die properly for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's reaction was actually quite sad because they were like saying, why is he being killed off? And then everyone can kind of like take a back seat who are in comics and with irony and go, he'll be back in a few years for the movie. But that's the point. It's people want their comics separate from their movies, but
yeah, you don't have to tie in. I think it happens a lot where they brought Peter Parker back as Spider-Man just before Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out.
Yeah,
and any guess who his first villain was when he came back? Electro.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really strange thing because I'm sorry, but everyone that goes to see the Avengers isn't going to go and pick up an Avengers comic.
They hope that. They hope
it, but comic books it's quite an inaccessible medium. Especially comics so entrenched in continuity and lore. It is hard for casual fans to get into it.
So, would you say that the death of Wolverine and after Secret Wars, where they have the all-new Wolverine, do you reckon that'll garner quite a few more readers back to the genre?
I think that the all-new Wolverine will be interesting. I like that they're going a different route with the character. I like how Logan is still around. Obviously, it's not 616 Logan. It's
old man Logan,
who is cool as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that they're kind of giving the mantle down to X-23. I think that's a really interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as the Death of Wolverine story goes, I think that was a really deep storyline, and it was an emotional book.
For those who haven't read the book, it's basically Wolverine's being told, look, you're going to, your body's deteriorating. It's the infection from the metal. You can't keep bringing the claws out because every time it comes out, you get bacteria into your body, and it's just obvious science. But they're saying, look, there's not really much we can do. And he goes all over the world. He reconnects with people that he hasn't seen in a long time. I think one of the most sad moments was in the current Wolverine book where he and Kitty Pryde sit down at the edge of the Xavier School and say, look, my name's James, not just call me James now, not Logan. And then we have his reconnection with Jubilee in the Wolverine Annual, which was a brilliant kind of annual. And then the Death of Wolverine series, it covers many ground. It covers very many cities up until book 4, where everyone says, look, this is the final encounter. You've got Wolverine back where he was created, back in the Weapon X facility of sorts. And he meets his original creator. And basically the guy's going, muhaha, I'm going to recreate you. And Wolverine basically just says, no way. Slashes the adamantium, it goes all over his body, and he dies reminiscing over his life, and he just dies kneeling down smiling on the floor, which was quite a brilliant ending to a brilliant series.
It's bittersweet almost, isn't it? I think if you're going to kill off a character, that's the way you do it. You do it in a very kind of retrospective, looking back, kind of somber, bittersweet kind of way. Not, they're dead. They'll be back in 2 months.
Yeah.
Like a certain Scott Snyder's just done.
Now, he's not spoilers, everyone, if you're listening to this, you haven't read it already. But they have kind of protected themselves, saying, look, he's going to have his own series, but he's not going to be Batman anymore. Batman for a while. Let's say until
the fact that
2016.
Yeah. It's the fact that they said with Endgame... One second. It's the fact that they said with Endgame that it was going to be the last Batman story. Snyder was really built up that he was killing off Batman. And if you read... I don't know if you're fully up to date with the issues.
I've been keeping up, yeah.
Okay, well, they've basically said now that Bruce did die. When, at the end of Endgame, when you see Batman and Joker bleeding out on the floor...
A brutal fight.
Yeah! Batman gets his eye taken out.
Mm-hmm.
The Joker's playing card. It's brutal. But they say that they do die, but Bruce now has the Dionysium in his body, which is the chemical which is making Joker immortal.
Mm-hmm.
But the consequence of that is Bruce's memory is completely gone. And Alfred just skipped over a certain detail when telling him about his life.
Yeah.
So Bruce has no idea that he's Batman.
Mm-hmm. You know, but they could say muscle memory. He remembers everything like that.
Possibly. I think there's definitely ways to get around it in 3 months when they decide to bring him back.
Yeah.
Because they realise people actually aren't really warming up to Gordon as Batman. I don't mind it.
Like, I think it's an interesting take of it.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's not as interesting as reading Bruce as Batman. That's the problem.
I think what people are missing is the fact that they're missing Snyder writing Bruce Wayne rather than Snyder writing Gordon.
Yeah, Snyder writing Gordon is really good. He nails the characters. And, you know, it's an interesting book. I'm enjoying it. But it's not up to par with, like, The Court of Owls and Death of the Family.
Mm.
It was, you know, it's good, but it's not what we want.
Well, talking of what we want, I wrote in my notes to Owen that we'll be talking about one mystery death that has occurred recently that I am particularly very happy about. And I say recently as it was, let's say about a month ago. And it was in Secret Wars number 4.
Oh!
Not the one you're thinking about. The one I've been most happy about. Ladies and gentlemen, 616 Cyclops is finally dead and buried. That travesty of a character is finally gone, and everyone can go, yeah, Cyclops, he was a dick, but here's the new one. Everyone likes the new one. Yeah, I've hated this since Avengers vs. I've hated Cyclops for a long time, way before Avengers vs. X-Men, because he's really whiny.
Yeah,
he really is very self-righteous and quite hypocritical sometimes. And of course he killed Professor X, which everyone was a bit miffed off about. But of course the big thing that everyone kind of goes to, they go, oh, but he started the Uncanny X-Men, he raised New Mutants. And I'm like, have you read that book? Have you read Uncanny X-Men? And you would see how bad he has been portrayed in that book, because he's pulled off as a really uncaring, really interested character who only votes for mutant rights. And he pisses off a load of people in the process, loses track of his mutants, because he's supposedly looking after Dazzler, but no, she's been kidnapped, replaced by It's a really confusing book. I'm glad it's gone. And after Secret Wars, they will finally have a few, probably 1 or 2 X-Men series, and we have young Cyclops when they brought him back at the beginning of Marvel now, and I'm glad that he's there, because they could go, hey, you hated that run of the character? Well, you can start again now. Here's the new one, because no one has to worry about that awful, awful interpretation of a character.
Yeah.
Cyclops... is it just me that's saying hooray that Cyclops is dead, or is it...
No, don't worry. I'm very happy about it as well. I think Cyclops was very much a give-and-take character for me. I didn't care about him for the longest time. Avengers vs. X-Men, however, is garbage. And... okay, so you take... basically he's basically the prodigal son of Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the Dick Grayson to his Bruce Wayne. And yeah, he kills him on sides with Magneto, which kind of goes against his character.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn him into a dick. You basically ruin the X-Men series, which is possibly on purpose to fuck over Fox. And then And then Doom breaks him.
Hilariously as well.
Yeah.
Because he's like saying, I am the Phoenix, this is my world now. He's like, no, dead.
It's just the fact that they made him so overpowered by giving him the Phoenix Force. It's like, does Cyclops need the Phoenix Force?
But his powers are broken after
I don't give a
Avengers.
fuck.
I'd say it's glad to say that character is dead and everyone... But that's another thing about this. There are happy deaths. People can say, yes, that character's finally dead. And Cyclops is one of those, because he's that poorly written character.
Yeah.
But of course, for some, they feel about it more than others. Like, they have certain deaths that play big into the characters. Because Xavier's death sparks multiple different series.
Mm-hmm.
You could say that very much for, say, Jason Todd. Jason Todd is one of the most famous deaths in comics because of how controversial it was. If people don't know about it, this is a series within comics that dynamically changed the aspect of Batman. Yeah. Because we had seen that, his villains are capable of doing some dodgy stuff sometimes, but we've never actually seen them openly, physically bludgeon a child to near death. And then, the icing on the cake, they ask the fans to vote. It's a glorious marketing gimmick, a brilliant one, too. But they ask the fans to vote whether they want him to live or die, and the majority is, kill him. Kill the character. And everyone goes, alright, kill him. It's Batman, Jason Todd dies, and you have the glorious image of Batman carrying Jason Todd out of the rubble. But of course that doesn't stay forever, because deaths are never forever. When he was brought back for Under the Red Hood, which is still a great series, and also played into Hush as well.
Yeah.
Is Jason Todd one of those characters that people can go, yeah, he died, but I like the way his character is now?
Yeah. I think for the longest time there was a saying that there's three people that never get brought back: Gwen Stacy, Uncle Ben, and Jason Todd. So at least Uncle Ben's still dead. But
yeah.
But Jason Todd, his death it's a really, really iconic moment in not just Batman history, but in comic book history. You see the splash page where Bruce is holding his body. That's iconic. And I think that, they waited 16 years before bringing Jason back. So it wasn't, it's not like Captain America where they bring him back a year after he dies. When they killed him off, they didn't have plans to bring him back. And it was only, generations later that a new writer, had this story to bring Jason back as the Red Hood.
And I think it's thanks to that writer that everyone can go, hey, he has a new dynamic to his character because of what happened in Crisis of Infinite Earths, where you had Superboy Prime going, I'm the most powerful, I'm the most powerful one. And because of that, I remember reading Under the Red Hood a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I remember this. And it shows him like punching holes through reality and going, I'm the strongest. And because of one of those punches in the hole of reality, Jason came back to life, and you see him clawing his way out of his coffin because he's like, holy crap, where the hell am I? And it was just one of those series where I was like, this is actually really dark stuff, because he's tortured, because he basically says he doesn't know who he is. He wakes up on the side of the road, ends up in hospital, taken in by the League of Assassins, and Talia just shoves him in the Lazarus pit, and he basically is left to bubble in his rage of how annoyed that Batman has just been seen with a new Robin, and that he doesn't care that he died. And of course, there spans the entire story. That it's a really great run if people are interested. Would you say one of those iconic deaths, like Jason, or, for example, Gwen Stacy? Because they've brought Gwen Stacy back in a great series, by the way, of Spider-Gwen from Spider-Verse.
Well, technically they haven't brought Gwen back because it's not the same Gwen.
Yeah, but it's still...
It's the Gwen character, but it's
still
not...
the Gwen character that's back, and I think
it's
everyone's
not
happy
the Gwen,
to see it.
It's not the Gwen Stacy who got thrown off a bridge. So it kind of doesn't count, maybe. So Gwen is probably the only character that's still dead.
Sort of still dead.
Yeah, well, that Gwen Stacy is still dead. Then we get into multiverse theories and it gets confusing.
And then it just gets messy.
Yeah.
I think... Hell, seeing Uncle Ben in Spider-Verse was like, everyone went, holy crap. Death doesn't matter anymore. That's the problem nowadays.
Well, I think with Spider-Gwen and Gwen Stacy, I think obviously Spider-Verse just gave the writers a chance to just come up with new cool Spider-Man characters, thinking, they're just throwaway.
But of course, it got so popular that they made their own series.
Yeah.
I personally really like the series.
I do.
It's really fun. Artwork's really diverse and different.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do after Secret Wars. And I'm liking that Spider-Verse tie-in in Secret Wars is mainly from her perspective, which I like.
Yeah.
But of course, with one of those iconic deaths, there's something that they can plaster on the front page and say, hey, Jason Todd has died. Gwen Stacy is dead. Or you can have Spider-Man going, I'm going to kill you, Goblin.
Yeah.
One of the most famous covers in comics is obviously the death of Superman, where you have his emblem fluttering on the ground against the flag, and he's dead. Lois is crying, going, ah. Is the death of Superman the most famous death story ever told, would you say?
I think it's a toss-up between the death of Superman and the death of Gwen Stacy. Or the death of Uncle Ben. Everyone knows that Uncle Ben died.
Yeah. But what is it about the death of Superman that makes it such a like a one that everyone goes, that's a great story?
Because it's Superman. I think it ties into, Superman is the superhero. For the longest time, this was the most popular, by far, comic book character ever. He is the definitive superhero. And I think, going through history, characters have been killed off and brought back, But Superman, not only that, Superman's so powerful, who could kill him off?
And of course, everyone gets their wish and they go, oh crap, Superman's dead. Oh.
What do we do now?
Yeah.
Let's bring him back.
Let's bring him back with a mullet.
Yeah, and no cape.
No.
Who wrote this book? John Peters?
I remember rightly. It is. I'll just do a quick search now. Death of Superman. This will probably get cut out of the main title, but I'm still interested to see because.
I think it was Dan Jurgens.
I'm pretty. Yeah, it's. Is it loads up quickly? Writer Dan Jurgens. Yeah.
Boom.
And that lasted. How long did the death of Superman span? Just while we're here.
About a year.
Yeah, 1992 to 1990. Yeah. So
just
about a
around a year.
So again, death doesn't really matter in that case.
No, it was. I think the death of Superman killed death in comics
for a long while because they're like, oh, he's only back. It's here. I've got it here. The collected editions of the death of Superman, World Without a Superman, The Return of Superman, The Death and Return of Superman omnibus. Why would they think about? They could say yes, he's one of the most popular characters in comics, but why would you basically say let's kill him off and then bring him back a year later because oh poo, our new series isn't doing as good as we thought?
Because it sold like gangbusters. Superman wasn't selling, so they killed him off. It got massive publicity. It was a huge seller, and then they could wait a year, bring it back, expecting that to be even bigger. And I think that I'm going to make my my thesis for this podcast, which is that 90s comics killed death in comic books.
That's fair to say. That's fair to say that, yeah, because there were so many of them that it just seemed redundant anymore.
Well, it ties into the idea of the speculator bubble and the fact that because people were buying bulks of comics, thinking they'd have the same resale value as old comics, the fact was that the speculators would look for specific things in Silver and Golden Age comics, which were first appearances, variant covers, and superhero deaths. So you know what Marvel, DC, and Image did in the 90s? A lot of variant covers, a lot of new characters, and a lot of deaths. Basically, they made every comic possible have those things in, so people will buy 6 or 7 copies each, thinking that, it was going to be worth something. But of course, when everyone has 6 or 7 copies, it's not going to be worth anything.
Of course, the only ones that would make any money, of course, most of them are already collected by DC anyways. For DC example, you have the first appearance of Superman, and you have the first appearance of Batman.
Yeah, a lot of the Golden Age comics. You know, you look at the first appearances of Batman, Superman, the Joker, Spider-Man. You know, the reason why they sell so big is because they were in a time where comics were disposable and people didn't see them as an investment.
One read, throw away.
Yeah, and not only that, with a lot of the Superman and Batman and Captain America, the early stuff, a lot of those comics were used in the war. You know, they were rationed for paper in the war. Yeah. So a lot of them, when they're taking in, scrap paper for the war effort, the first things thrown away are comic books. You know, people didn't see them as anything valuable.
And of course, nowadays they basically used for trade paperback collections.
Yeah.
So, sort of going on to another point, we have a lot of male deaths within comics, and they're played off as big tragic moments that may shock people, and they go, "Oh, he died! Oh my god, I didn't expect his death." But then we have the other side of the spectrum, where is the female side of comics, where we have female characters who were killed off for sometimes not the right reasons. Case in point example, Alexandra DeWitt from Green Lantern, the main star of the trope girls in refrigerators.
Yeah.
And for those who aren't clear of it, it was when Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern, came back home, and there was a note on the fridge from Major Force saying, "I left you a present in the fridge," and you see an outline of an arm and a leg, and Kyle looking absolutely devastated. And of course, they were rightfully so to do this. People, like female writers, revolted and saying, "Look, this is crap. Why are you doing this? Why is this here?"
Yeah.
Is that one of the most offensive female deaths in comics, would you say?
I can see why kind of female comic book writers were up in arms about it. I know Gail Simone particularly had a big problem with it. She was the one that coined the phrase fridging, the fridger character.
Yeah.
And I think the death of Alexander DeWitt did rub people the wrong way, because they basically just used that character to further Kyle's plot development. She was basically just an accessory to him.
The motivation to pursue greater goals.
Yeah.
And of course, that should never be in the case of comics. Characters should get their own goals, not from death, but from something good they do. And they don't go, "Oh, Kyle's girlfriend died, I'm going to be a better hero to show the world that I can live on without my loved one."
Yeah.
But of course that's crap, because it's not true at all. It's misrepresentation within comics. And I'm glad that the writer of that storyline, I'll post his name in the review because I can't remember right now, he actually came out and said, "Look, I know this was crap and we're going to retcon it soon. Because it's not right the way it was written. Because it basically shows that we don't care for female characters as people, but as they're more like objects." And of course, with another famous DC death, we have the death of Supergirl, which was a big one that happened in Crisis on Infinite Earths. But of course, then people weren't going up in arms about that one. So what's the difference from DeWitt to Supergirl?
That's a good question. I think it just comes down to the way it was handled. Because you could even say that Supergirl's death was used to further Superman's plot in Crisis, but I think it was done so in a very respectful way.
Yeah.
It was treated as a very important thing.
And not just as like a shock motivation tactic.
Yeah, when, that cover of Crisis on Infinite Earths where Clark's holding her body, that's another iconic cover, that's something everyone knows. And I think that it comes down to the way it was handled. It's the same kind of situation as Alexander DeWitt, but it was treated with a lot more care and respect.
Yeah.
To, obviously, people who are fans of Supergirl. It wasn't just, hey, there's this character, nope, she's dead. Get on with it, go read Kyle. It's, and in fairness, they waited a long time before bringing Supergirl back. We had, obviously, Linda Danvers' Supergirl, and, we had another Supergirl, but the actual, technically speaking,
Kara.
that Supergirl, Kara, didn't come back for 19 years.
It's pretty crap.
Yeah, it is.
So people having to wait such a long time for this character to return, they go...
But, at the same token, it shows that it wasn't just a flash in the pan technique like
No.
it was with Superman. At least with characters like Supergirl and Jason Todd, when they killed them off, it wasn't just to sell comics and just we'll kill them off, that'll sell. It was for storyline reasons, and the plan was for them to stay dead.
And of course, a response to that would be, hey, did you like those? Do you remember those characters that we killed off so many years ago? Well, go read Blackest Night because we're bringing them all back to life as zombies. Of course, Blackest Night is a great series, and everyone goes, "Oh, it's like you get to see all those old characters that like died, and we get to see them again." And then the conundrum goes, "Wait, those characters have died before. Why are they back again? Oh no, wait, now they're zombies." So it works both ways when they can go, "Hey, here's a character that we brought back, and we're going to keep him dead for a long time." Jason Todd, case in point, and Supergirl, and we're not going to bring them back until we feel like they're ready or people want them enough. But then they kind of retcon those decisions, like very recently. If people read of Convergence, within those titles, you actually learn their motivation. They go, "Hey, Supergirl, someone needs to go through this wormhole and sacrifice yourself."
Yeah.
And you go, "Oh crap, she actually knew she was going to die back in Crisis." Yeah. Wow, that's actually kind of poetic in a way. And of course, Barry Allen, he knew he was going to die when he went back. So they kind of painted it in a better light now, but of course when it first happened, it was poorly handled.
Yeah, I think if we're going to talk about female deaths that were poorly handled, there's only one that we need to talk about.
Go on, say it.
Sue Dibney.
Yeah, Sue Dibney. Identity Crisis. Oh, one of those series that people don't really like to remember because it had premise, and it had promise of all things to be a good series, an actual good thriller. And in the end, it went off not with a bang, but with a small pop.
It went out with a fart.
Yes. And to be honest, we're not spoiling the story because it's not really that. I would say
we're not spoiling the story because it's not worth reading.
Yeah, you can check it out, but we wouldn't recommend it. That's the thing. And I'm not saying, "Oh, do you see that? It's rubbish." It's just not a well-written series, and it's better just to read online as a passing thing.
Yeah.
The main outcome of it was we have the main storyline that Sue Dibney dies. Ralph Dibney, the elongated man. We have a great first issue where he elates to all the times that the first time he met his wife, all the gifts and all the things they've brought together. And in the background, we have her being murdered by an unknown assailant. And then all the way through the series, we're building up a big thing, like who could have done this? Who could have gone in without anything noticing them? Who could have done all this? And in the background, subtly, we have Ray Palmer getting back to his wife, his divorcee wife, and getting back in cahoots with her. And of course, all the way at the very end, Batman works it out. He goes, "Oh no." And we cut to it with Ray basically saying to his divorcee wife, "Did you kill Sue?" And she goes, "Yes, but not for the reasons you think, because that death brought us back together. Hooray!" And of course, she doesn't even actually get justice for her death. Ray just puts her in Arkham Asylum for no reason and doesn't go, "Oh, it's my wife." He just buggers off, and then 52 happens, and then Countdown happens, and then everyone just loses interest in DC. That's basically what happened with that series. Countdown and 52. Bad taste in the mouth.
I think that if we're going for how many characters can we offend in a story, Identity Crisis takes the cake. Sue Dibney.
1.
Elongated Man.
2.
The Atom.
3.
His wife.
4.
Batman.
5.
There we go.
And the list carries on because you have...
we'll throw Dr. Light in there as well.
Yeah, Dr. Light as well. And,
6.
But then we have the big... that was meant to be a big thing, and then they dropped the bombshell that, Zatanna, Green Arrow, and a few others mind-wiped Dr. Light to make him basically a patsy villain, which is why everyone goes, "Oh, no one takes him seriously anymore." And no, he was actually a really nasty and violent guy. And then, but no, we're going to wipe his mind to make sure he never does this again. And
it's more the fact that the Justice League knew what he did but covered it up.
And then
when Batman tried to uncover it,
they wipe his mind too.
So I think, although kind of what they did to Sue Dibney and what they did to the Atom and his wife was pretty disgusting, their characterization of the Justice League in that book is dead wrong. Because the Justice League are bad people. They are horrible friends.
They talk like crap to each other in that book. It's really, really weird to read. Because it's like, these characters aren't the same that I just read in that other book. Why are they acting this way? But, of course, it's one of those series that it's split on most sides. Because people go, oh, it's a really good series, and people go, oh, it's a really bad series.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. It has to go on because it's canon. Not anymore, thank God, because
Not anymore.
DC, it's creativity over continuity, and I hate that phrase.
Okay, you're not alone, don't worry.
Alright, so getting on, talking about how we've talked all these characters back and how they're brought back after a certain time, we have to answer the question, this trope of bringing back people from the dead, it kind of seems like a certain insult to readers, or it could be clever writing to everyone else. So, the question to be asked to you, is it right to bring one specific character back to replace the current incarnation of the character? Say, for example, like when people were getting scared as of recently when they get, oh, here's Miles Morales, you love his character, we're going to bring back Peter Parker too. We'll see how you like that. Or, of course, we have Wally West being replaced by Barry Allen after Blackest Night.
Yeah.
Is that either an insult to the reader, or it's sometimes clever writing because they go, oh, this happened because of that reason, and that happened because of this reason?
It can be clever writing, but I think it's a very circumstance by circumstance. I think the Barry Allen one was strange because that's a whole generation of people that had grown up with Wally West as the Flash. You know, Wally been the Flash for a good 25 years. And for them to just suddenly say, oh, Barry's back because the DC editors wanted Barry back, was strange. You know, I think that a lot of kind of resurrections in comics are handled badly. They're very botched jobs. And I think that, I mean, for the most part, it's no coincidence that the ones that are the most impactful are the ones that stay dead the longest.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a list here, let's look at it. Superman was dead under a year. Batman was dead for 18 months in Infinite Crisis. Captain America died for 2 years. Peter Parker of Earth 616 died for 18 months. And then we've got Jean Grey was dead for 6 years. Jason Todd was dead for 16 years. Supergirl was dead for 19 years. The Flash, Barry Allen, was dead for 23 years. Oh, Thor was dead for 7 months.
Yeah, he was.
Just thought I'd throw that in there. And Bucky Barnes was dead for 37 years.
And created one of my favourite Captain America stories ever.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of parallels between the death and return of Bucky Barnes and the death and return of Jason Todd. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. They're both awesome characters. And then, obviously...
It can be sometimes.
Yeah, when written well.
Yes.
When in the hands of a good writer, they're really great. But, you know, if you put anyone in the hands of a bad writer, it's going to be shit.
I'm just going to Rob Liefeld, anyone?
Yeah. Especially when you let him draw it as well.
I think one of my favourite characters, when the New 52 began, we have Hawk vs. Dove, a character team that I kind of liked. Gave it to Liefeld, cancelled after 9 issues. Either down to poor sales or shit writing.
Well, I think the poor sales might be because of the shit writing.
Yeah, exactly. So would you say that kind of odd list, that long list that you just read out of how many people have died and how long they stayed dead, it's mainly because they go, hey, editorial, we like this character, but we're going to bring him back. We're going to slot this character in, so you need to shape your storyline around this.
Yeah.
That's greatly frustrating for both the writer and the reader when they eventually read it. Because they're like saying, I want to write more stories with this character, but editorial basically saying, no, I can't do that anymore. It's one of those odd decisions in comics when they go, hey, you've got a character that's doing really well in the current incarnation. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring back the previous incarnation, hopefully that does as well too. Of course, that was the case with bringing Peter back, because Peter back in the 616 was obviously going to happen, and of course it's the time with the movie too.
I think a lot of the kind of modern deaths are, you know, I think it's got to the point now where we know they're coming back. It's like, you know, with Endgame, at the end of Endgame, Bruce came back 2 issues later.
And we know he's going to come back because it's Bruce Wayne. I
think everything after the death of Superman, I said before, that's how I think that killed Death in comics, because after that,
People are afraid to do it.
not that I was afraid to do it, but readers don't buy it.
Yeah.
They don't believe that people are going to stay dead because they felt cheated out by the death of Superman. You know, this was treated as this really, grand storyline. Superman's gone; he's never coming back. And then they bring him back the next year. A lot of comic book fans lost a lot of respect for comics and for death because of that. It got to the point of what's sacred.
Yeah,
Is Uncle Ben just going to pop up?
Well, he did it. No, we're not going to bring that joke again. But yeah, death was meant, and this is kind of the closing point of the thing. Death was one of those things that was meant to be big once upon a time. When it happened, it was sometimes meant to be forever. And you can say within the Ultimate Universe, yeah, mostly deaths last forever in that universe, and people like it that way because it gives them a sense of solidity. But what everyone can say, and what we have discussed, is that death is a laughing joke now within comics, because they can go, ha, he's dead, he'll be back in a year, to build up either hype for a toy line or a movie or anything else. I mean, that was the main reason why Marvel went, hey, Fantastic Four is going to do really poor in the movie business, so we're going to cancel the series and poke the other characters in everywhere else just to kind of forget. You have the end of Fantastic Four, which
You also have to remember that in that regard, the Fantastic Four comic was selling not very well.
No, exactly. And
the book wasn't doing too well either.
Well, I mean, that's down to either people just getting sick and tired of the characters, or there's just nothing new to say.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, read our series, and people go, why? And they go, you like the character? That's kind of the annoying thing. That's kind of the downside within the comic industry. When they go, we have our favourite characters, and sometimes, because the book's not doing so well as you think, they go, cancelled. It's not doing so well, cancelled.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on the previous podcast with me and with the members from Comic Pop, and we talked about how female characters are basically saying, yeah, you like that female character? Sorry, editorial doesn't think it's doing so well, so we're taking it off the shelves. Because when we want someone to walk through the new door, we want them to see, this is our comic, this is a new comic, and they say, here's the new one. And everyone forgets the old series because, She-Hulk, really well written, really kind of like series. No, not selling well, get rid of it.
Yeah.
The dark side of comics, people. It's the irony that every comic book reader lives with, and they go, how long before this character dies? How long before this series ends?
Yeah.
So, the final wrapping up question that we have to answer is, will death ever matter anymore in comic books again?
I don't think it's too far gone. I think it's possible, but it's something that has to be done right. Mm-hmm. I think that coming out of Secret Wars, I think there's going to be a huge character death.
Yay! Cyclops, yeah. Sorry, I just got flashback to seeing Cyclops die again.
I think at the end of Secret Wars, there's going to be a big death.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's going to sacrifice themselves to save the universe.
So here's a fun thing.
And maybe he stretches.
Yeah. I was literally about to say, who's the one character we haven't seen in any kind of lineup for the next Marvel the Marvel releases?
The arch villain of the main character. The arch enemy of the main character of Secret Wars.
Yeah, and I mean, it basically characterizes it perfectly there, because they go, Dr. Doom has searched all over Battleworld, but there's no version of Reed Richards, or Doom has either killed them or they're not there.
Yeah.
And he's so angry that Richards appears, he goes, Richards! And he shouts it as soon as he sees it, and it's like, and I love it when Ultimate readers, Maximus goes, is he talking to you? And he goes, oh, he's not talking to me. He's talking to that one over there.
Well, I think because Ultimate Reed Richards, because he's Maker and he has the helmet, I think Doom hasn't noticed that it's him.
Yeah. Oh, I've just had a mind. He kills him thinking he's original Reed Richards, and therefore we have regular Mr. Fantastic to carry on because everyone likes him, apparently.
I think to me, I hope that Maker plays into it, because he could kind of be the secret weapon in this.
Can I just say, he's actually done bugger all in that series that makes me consider him a threat, or meant to be a threat at all. The only person that I can see as a threat is Thanos, because he basically killed a lot of Thors on his own. And I'm meant to be scared of Ultimate Reed Richards, because he has a helmet.
Yeah, but with 616 Reed, the reason why he is the most dangerous person in Battleworld isn't anything to do with his powers, it's because of Doom's powers. Reed doesn't have to do anything. Reed doesn't have to beat Doom. Doom's going to lose it for himself because of Reed.
I have a great quote here from a writer that I wrote about. He says, Doom, the only reason Doom loses so much is because of his ego. And if he hadn't got such a big ego, he would have just taken over the world and destroyed the Avengers within a week. So, we hope... So, I think, personally, that there has to be a certain death within comics. Either any series, any book. Because, like, say, Y the Last Man, biggest character death in that was when the main female character spoke to the Y and basically told him her name, and then she's dead. That was a big thing. That was a big thing for everyone to take in and go, wow, that one character is now dead. And then we have a certain example for DC. We have, let's say, a character death that meant a lot to a lot of people. Let's say Stephanie Brown, when she died and then brought back. People were sad about that because they loved Stephanie Brown. And then they loved her even more when she did her Batgirl run. And of course, what did people do when she's announced she's queen into the 52? They lose their shit because they love Stephanie Brown.
Yeah.
So, I would say there has to be a certain death throughout all the comics where the whole world stands up and says, hey, this actually means a big deal. Because when Peter Parker died in 616, everyone took notice. I remember when he died in the Ultimate Universe, everyone took notice. It has to be a legacy character that dies to everyone to say, hey, well, death actually matters now, and it's not meant to be tied down to the movies.
Yeah.
So, kind of a wrapping up point, I want to ask you your favourite or most well-handled character death, and why is that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that the most well-handled one are the ones that are kind of treated with the most respect. I think Jason Todd comes to mind. I think Supergirl comes to mind. I think Barry Allen comes to mind. That's a good question. I think I'm going to say Jason Todd.
Yeah.
Because, it wasn't just so much the death of... And it wasn't even so much the actual death of Jason Todd, it was the repercussions that came of it. For the next, 15, 16 years. That really not only evolved Batman's character, it really evolved Jason Todd's character. In a way that when they did bring him back so many years later, not only was it shocking and unpredictable, but it was done in a way that made sense and worked with the already existing nature of the character.
Exactly.
Which is something easier said than done, it seems.
I would say, because I've been harping on about it so much throughout this podcast, that I'd say the death of Peter Parker is my favourite because of how it was handled. Because you have a hero basically doing their duty, saving people, saving his loved ones, saving his friends, and defeating the villain.
Yeah.
And the ultimate cost is that he dies at the end. He doesn't walk away from this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely up there for me as well. Come to think about it.
So
that was...
It's one of those deaths that everyone goes... They take notice and they go, oh, that's really, really sad.
Yeah.
And that this 60... I mean, case in point, although I hate the show, and lots of people know I do, the Ultimate Spider-Man show, when they brought that out and they said, hey, we're going to the Ultimate Universe, and they brought out Miles Morales, and they go, hey, and they go, if you're Spider-Man, where's Peter Parker? And he goes, oh, you don't know. And you see, and Miles takes him to Peter's grave and says, yeah, this happened. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, another example of this would be when they did the Spider-Man event, where they had the Spider-Men event, where they had Peter cross with Miles, and he had Peter come to the Ultimate Universe, and he's like, holy crap, I've actually died in this world, and people have been sad because of it.
Yeah.
That's why I think that's one of my favourite deaths, because it had so many repercussions, but it came about bringing forward a great modern day character of Miles Morales.
Yeah, I think, in fairness, you've won me over with that. I think you hit the nail right on the head there.
So, closing comments of the show. We're talking about, like I ask on everyone on the show, I ask them to say, what is one of their favourite books that they've been reading recently, and one that they would recommend that they've read in the past to people to go and listen to, either to read or listen to. So, I put the question to you, Owen. What is one of your favourite books that you've been reading recently, and what is one favourite book in the past that you would recommend to people to go and read?
One book I've been reading recently, actually, there's two books I've been reading recently.
Yeah,
Can I just say them? Yeah. Can I say them for both questions?
Yeah.
Two books that I'm really enjoying at the moment, something a bit different from the usual Secret Wars. The first one is Jerry Duggan's 1872 for Marvel, which is one of the Secret War tie-ins. It's only up to issue 2 at the moment, and the premise is it's the Marvel universe in the Old West, and it's centered around Sheriff Steve Rogers, and taking on, basically, he's going up against the local government, which is run by Mayor Fisk. And it actually does have an interesting story that actually ties into All New Marvel, because it's our introduction to Red Wolf, who is the Native American character in the posters for All New Marvel.
Yeah, that was the one character where everyone goes, who's that?
Well, he plays a really big role in this book. Yeah. Basically, he is being lynched by a mob, and Sheriff Rogers rescues him. And basically it's like, okay, we're going to put him on trial, we're going to do this the legal way. And he kind of butts heads with Fisk as a result of that, and Fisk brings in a load of hitmen to try and kill Rogers, including Bullseye, Elektra, and Dr. Octopus, who has 8 mechanical arms with guns. It's the coolest thing ever. There's loads. My favourite characterisation in that book is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Who is the town blacksmith. And the first time you see him, he is lay down in a puddle of mud with pigs with a bottle of Jack Daniels. He is also the town drunk. It's brilliant. He is drunk throughout most of the book.
Yeah. So no different to normal then.
No, it's pretty much the same, except he has a hammer. But it's a really fun book. It's kind of like a bit of a it's quite funny, and it's quite tongue in cheek. It's something a bit different from the kind of high octane seriousness of Secret Wars.
Well, I would say one book that I've been reading recently that I've been really enjoying. I have to hold my hands out and say, yeah, I was wrong, because I originally said to someone that I wasn't going to enjoy this series because I didn't think it would work that well because of the series that it was talking about, and that series would be Thor's. But yeah, I've been thoroughly won over because I've actually been really enjoying it. It's a really fun series.
Yeah, I have,
and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends, because it will inevitably end.
Yeah,
but it's been one of those books that I've been reading and they go, it's one of the first books that's won me over in a good long while, which I'm glad it did.
Yeah,
it's just really well written by one of my favourite writers, which is Jason Aaron.
Yeah.
And I would say another book that I've been reading recently that I would love people to go and read is Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps, because one of my favourite character, great story. It's a really great story because it's a great legacy kind of finish to DeConnick's run on the series.
Yeah.
For those who have read it and they go, all those characters that you really like, they're back in this world and they're going to be a main feature in this world, and everyone is really enjoying it. And of course, it's the send-off for DeConnick, and we'll go into the new series with the Agent Carter series writers, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
But of course, one book that I've been reading, that I've read in the past, that is coming back for its second arc, would be Rocket Girl from Image Comics.
Ooh.
And it's a really fun series because it's a time cop a young teenage time cop girl is travels back in time to like the 1980s. And it's basically like saying, she basically goes back too far, and I'm trying not to spoil too much because it's really fun. And she basically just travels back too far, and she basically gets taken as an idiot because she's like, I'm from the future, and they're like, yeah, right. But it's written by, if I remember right, it's written by Brendan Monclair, and the art's by Amy Reeder. Fantastic pairing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the next series goes. So
yeah.
That's my pick for that series. So
that sounds really awesome.
I would definitely recommend people go and read it. It's really fun.
The second series that I'm going to say is actually Action Comics at the moment. DC's Action Comics. If you're kind of not familiar with what's going on there, it's written by World War Hulk writer Greg Pak. It's a very Hulk-esque book. Basically, they throw you in at the deep end at the start. This kind of volume, this kind of series is running from Action Comics 41 onwards. So that'd probably be the best place to start. We don't know why, and we don't know how, but Clark's lost all his powers. And his secret identity. And he's basically a wanted fugitive. His secret identity was leaked to the world, and he's kind of got powers, but kind of like to the levels of Captain America. Where he's kind of just like really strong, really fast. And it's about kind of... He's very... the police is very prejudiced against him for kind of being an alien. The world's not sure whether they like this guy or not. As he says, he narrates to himself in issue 41, Perry fired me from the Daily Planet, the bank's cancelled my credit card.
No one likes Clark Kent anymore.
The world, is very torn on whether they like Superman.
I think that reflects many within comics nowadays.
Moving to like the issues going forward, I think we're up to 44, which is coming out soon.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah. But what's really interesting is that despite losing almost all of his abilities, the world hating him, he's lost like people in his life, the likes of Lois Lane and Perry White. They're gone from his life. He's still trying to do the right thing. He's still trying to be Superman. And I think what the message that they are trying to get across in this series is, it's not the fact he's so powerful that makes him Superman. He's not Superman because he can shoot lasers out of his eyes and fly. He's Superman because he's a good person, and he'll always try and do the right thing.
Have you been reading the current Superman series at all?
The one by John Yang and John Romita?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pile of shit.
Would you like me to reveal why they...
I've been reading it, but I've not been... In comparison, I don't think that
you
book's
preferred
as
that
good.
book over... You prefer Action Comics over the main
Yeah, a
Superman
lot.
series?
I have a lot of issues with Superman.
Yeah.
It's not a bad book per se, but I find Romita's art really distracting in that book. Like
It's a little odd.
Like, it's not very good. Like, John Romita is an incredible artist. He is one of the most iconic comic book artists of all time. But his Superman, just something looks strange about it.
It does look a bit odd, I will admit that. It definitely doesn't look like a Superman book at all.
No. I think that book's okay, but all that book's doing is playing catch up to the main story.
Yeah.
In Action Comics. Like, you can read Action Comics without having to read Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, would you say that people go and pick up Action Comics more for the main story rather than just like go and pick up the titular book? Yeah,
not only for the main story, just because I think overall, comparing them as two stories, I think the story in Action Comics is a lot more interesting. We've never seen that in a Superman story before. I feel like this is good evolution of character as opposed to bad evolution of character. I think it's changing something about a character to make it fresh and new. And I think it's being handled in a way that kind of is true to the core elements of the character and is done in a really good way, and it's made for really a really great story. And obviously the fact that it's written by Greg Pak, who was on Hulk for so long, he's actually going to be writing the all new Hulk for Marvel. I think that's a match made in heaven, and you can really see his influences with Hulk in this story. Because like most Hulk stories, it's the story of this guy who is kind of what he does makes him an outcast in society. And he's just trying to find his place, trying to be a good person, but the world hates him, and he's constantly on the run. Which is pretty much Hulk. Which isn't a bad thing per se. I think it's been tremendous. So I definitely recommend going to pick up Superman. No, sorry, don't pick up Superman. Action Comics 41, and then if you enjoy that, try keep reading with the series. Yeah.
So that's the end of the discussion. That's the end of the podcast today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Owen, thank you very much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries at all. We'll have you back anytime you want. And to all those listening, give us a good old favour and go over to Owen's channel. Click on the subscribe button because he has some great videos on there, and it's really informative and people really like his stuff. So go over there and have a look. And while you're there, come back to my channel. Come back to my channel. Click on the subscribe button. Give it a good old like. It really helps us out.
Yeah.
And to all those listening, thank you very much for listening. And until next time,
Thank you.
ta-ta, my friends.